Hello and welcome back to Hot Take here on No Bullshit, where we review the latest movies and give you our hot take on them. Today's topic is Venom, the Spider-Man spin-off series from Sony. A lot of people have been looking forward to this movie, and a lot of people thought it was going to be really bad too, but I have to say, Venom was a pleasant surprise. Even though the trailer and the advertising made it look pretty shitty, it actually turned out to be a pretty okay movie. Even above average if you ask some. We're going to talk about what happened and why it was good today here on Hot Take. Venom has actually been doing very well, and it could be a box office success for Sony. A much needed one after the failed Amazing Spider-Man 2 and other forays into this Marvel universe that really left a bad taste in people's mouths. In short, Venom is just a fun movie. It's a cool, different superhero movie. A lot of new things in here, a lot of fun, and it's also an interesting character. The Venom character from Spider-Man, he's got a great story, he's got a great backstory, and a very interesting way it was portrayed by Tom Hardy. Basically, Tom Hardy carries this whole movie. He's the reason you're watching it. He does a great job as the hero, and he does a great job at the dual character. You see, Venom is kind of in his head in the movie, and he does a great job going back and forth and having these conversations with himself. Now sure, this movie isn't high art by any means, and it might not stand up to some of the best X-Men or Marvel movies of the past, but still, Venom has its own flair. It's kind of enjoying its campiness. It enjoys being almost like a B version of a Marvel movie, and I think it has fun with it. That's why it's so cool. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good laughs in there, really good comedy from Tom Hardy and some of his supporting cast as well too. Now there are of course a lot of downsides as well. It is a little cheesy, probably too cheesy for some, but I know I enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of the old Spider-Man Raimi trilogy, the original Spider-Man that was very campy and over the top as well. And they did a version of Venom in their third movie, but I think this original Venom movie right here, this shit is gold. This is going to be a successful movie, and I'm very excited about it. With that introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the story summary of this movie. The basic premise for Venom goes like this. Basically, we see Eddie Brock as this reporter living in San Francisco. He's formerly from New York City, like Spider-Man, like where his character comes from, but now he's in San Francisco working a new job. He's a reporter, he investigates on things, and he eventually comes across this evil scientist guy who has been sending spaceships and doing all kinds of crazy tests in his lab. And come to find out, this evil scientist guy has gotten a symbiote, which is basically what the Venom character is. It's not actually a person or an alien, it's like this goo, this black goo that came from space, and the only way these goos can survive is by attaching itself onto a human. Now there's a whole other story about that. There's a couple other versions of Venom. There's a couple other symbiotes that come up, but basically Eddie Brock bumps into Venom and the two bond perfectly, and they end up having to take down this mad scientist guy. It's a very fun movie, and it has a lot of good action too, and even though there is a lot of CGI, I think it's well done and it actually fits into the Venom character really well. You see, like I was saying, the Venom is like this black goo, this symbiote, this liquid, and it can move and morph into lots of things, and that's actually what CGI looks like already. It's already kind of a shiny thing. A lot of CGI is shiny and looks like goo sometimes, so it actually works really well with this story. And that brings me to the Venom character and that dual character role Tom Hardy was playing I mentioned before, and this is one of the other really cool parts about this movie. Venom is like a split personality. Once the suit comes on to Eddie Brock, he's in his head and he talks to Eddie Brock, who's played by Tom Hardy, and Venom and Eddie Brock talk to each other in their head, and it's kind of like a split personality thing. It also reminds me of like Dr. Jekyll versus Mr. Hyde. One guy's normal, Venom's a little more crazy. The normal guy, Eddie Brock, is kind of reeling him in, and then the crazy guy kind of like takes control sometimes. So that part of the movie was really well done. The dual character was awesome, and that's another reason why I think this thing is so original. I mean, you haven't really seen a superhero movie with that kind of character, and this one turned out good. The least you could say about this movie is that Venom certainly stands out with all these other comic book movies coming out lately. Venom has an original touch, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Now, sure, it has some downsides, and it might not be for everyone either. This is definitely, you got to be a fan of Spider-Man, of Marvel, of comics, and maybe of Tom Hardy. If you like him and you like those comic books, you're definitely going to have fun here. The other big downside I'd have to mention is it does sort of turn into that same standard superhero setup where you have the hero with the power, and then he fights an evil version of someone else with the power. It's happened in Iron Man. Iron Man fights like an evil Iron Man suit. It happened in the Hulk. It's happened in countless other movies, and this film kind of falls into that trap, but I think everything else makes it work. Black Panther did that too, and that was still a cool movie, so if you like that, you might want to give Venom a shot. With all that said, let's go ahead and turn to the hot take meter. I'll easily give VENOM 3 out of 5 flames. I thought it was going to be a 1 or 2 in the beginning, and I definitely thought a 1 from what I heard and from the trailers, but it turned out to be pretty awesome. Not above a 3, but still a very above average, mid-level movie. Could have been great, and I'm actually looking forward to the sequel. 2 other movies I want to recommend before we wrap things up today are Night School, which was a really funny comedy with Kevin Hart and a couple of other really funny people. That movie's hilarious. And then another good movie this week was A Star is Born. Really excellent musical movie. Bradley Cooper kills it. Lady Gaga sings amazing in that movie, and it's got a good story too. So I couldn't get to all these hot takes this week, but I recommend those 2 movies as well, and also VENOM for the reasons I said before. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Hot Take, guys. We'll see you all next time.